felt it was fitting to start this month off with a training to talk about how we're going to pivot and use online and digital strategies and tools to help move the work that we're doing with NAACP moving forward. Move to the next slide. So tonight's trainers includes myself. Once again, my name is Jocelyn Livingston. I've been with the association now for about a year and 4 months. I have the honor of managing all of our national programs and also helping with our national campaigns. I support our field work and our internal operations as well, along with and supporting our national director, Ms. Tiffany Dina Lofton. Tiffany, would you like to speak and share a few words this evening?
Of course I would. Good evening, everyone. I hope that you all are safe and inside and well. I'm super excited about being on tonight's training. I'm the National Director for the Youth and College Division and manage a phenomenal, incredible team of national organizers, both Jocelyn Livingston, Derek Lewis, Russell Boyd II, and Wisdom Cole. We worked really hard tonight on creating a training that we thought was timely and most fitting. It is 2 years now that I've been here with the NAACP, and we have never seen a moment like this. And so I'm excited about the information and the tools we're going to bring you all tonight. Hope that it is useful and looking forward to answering all your questions.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Tiff. Next slide. So, as we all know, this time has been 2020 has started off with more than we could have ever even imagined. I know, speaking for myself, I never would have imagined that this is how we will be starting April. But considering that this is where we're at, it's also demanding a time for us to really pause, a time for us to really be intentional and be very present with our loved ones, with ourselves. A lot of us, I know we've been saying that this is a moment of social distancing, but we want to shift it to thinking about this as more physical distancing and the need for us to still be engaged with our loved ones, still engaged with our family, still engaged with our membership, right? And so I just wanted to take a moment out before we begin our training to pause, to give us a moment to really take a deep breath, for us to get grounded. This is a moment where we need to be more grounded and really touch the bottom of our feet. And so this activity will be really short and sweet, and then we'll move forward with the training. So if you all would like to engage with me in doing this short exercise, we're going to do just 2 to 3 really good breaths. So let's start with taking a deep breath in. Hold. Exhale out. Take a deep breath in. Hold for 4 seconds. 2, 1, 0. Exhale out. Breathe in. Last time. Exhale out. The reason why we started this training off with taking a moment to breathe is because in this moment, as there's high anxiety, where we're met with a lot of uncertainty, that we don't really know what tomorrow is going to come, what's going to happen next, but being able to be grounded and rooted gives us a moment of hope, give us a moment of groundedness and a moment of peace. And I hope that we all try to find other ways for us to find those moments more intentionally, even if it's just for us to take a moment to breathe. And so as we get started, I want you all to be mindful of that as well as we continue on throughout the training. So we move on to the next slide. So in this training, I'm going to go through some of the things that you all will be learning, and what we hope that you all will be able to take away from this moment. So what you will learn tonight One, about online organizing. So we know that traditionally we do a lot of relational organizing, grassroots organizing, but now that we're all at home, we have to pivot to new strategies, new ways of connecting and building upon this movement. We know that the work does not stop. And so you all will learn some tools, tactics, and strategies and recommendations of how we can move forward, but from an online digital organizing platform. Secondly, we'll talk about the principles of online communication. So typically we're used to in-person communication. It is still a form of communication, but there are some principles to online communication which is very different than how we usually would communicate with each other face to face. And so we'll go through some of those principles as well. And then principles of online organizing as well. We'll give you some tools, tips, and strategies of some of those principles. We'll highlight it with 2 case studies so you all can get real live examples around organizing issues and organizing campaigns. And so Tiffany will be walking us through some of those principles and some of those case studies.
Thank you, Jazz. I'm really glad we got a chance to breathe. One of the things that I want to make sure we are all on the same page about tonight is that we've been hearing the term social distancing a lot, but this moment doesn't require social distancing. This moment requires physical distancing. There is nothing antisocial or unsocial about this moment. The picture that you're looking at on the slide, I don't know if folks have been engaged on Instagram a lot, but DJ D Nice has been having a bunch of parties on Instagram where he just voluntarily shares his talent as a DJ with people across the globe for hours every single day. And he encourages people to join the party. The idea of having a party on social media while we're all trapped in the house separately is a new phenomenon, because ideally we would probably be in the same room together so that we can dance. And because we're unable to do that in this moment, it is clear, especially from his example of reaching over 100,000 people who tuned in to watch him DJ on Instagram, that people desire more than ever in this moment to be social. It's not hard right now to ask people to join things. You all right now are on a live training and webinar, and we have 99 people on the line. That's not because there's social distancing. It's because y'all are stuck up in the house like I am, and you want to be a part of a community. You want to learn new skills. You want to understand how to do digital organizing. You want to see other people's faces, because this moment requires us to be separated but not alone. So I wanted to at least start with this mindset of knowing that even though we talk about words and we say them because the news has told us, it is our job to frame differently how we're going to organize. And that does not mean that we need to socially distance ourselves. We want to be physically distant. And if we change our mindset, I think that we'll be successful. The second is, in this moment, there's a lot about what we can't do. In this training, we're going to push you all to have an infinite mindset. What that means is we want your mind to be limitless. We want it to be endless, because you need to rethink about how you do what you love to do. This moment doesn't mean that you can't continue to be a social justice advocate in your community. It does not mean that you can't be the leader of your NAACP community. It does not mean that you can't be an activist. All it means is we have to have a limitless mindset that helps us rethink how we do what we love to do. If we don't, somebody else will. If we stay trapped in the mindset that we have to do things the way that we've always done them, because that's how it has worked, you are going to lose your position as an organizer and as a thought leader in your community, because our reality has shifted dramatically. We have to show up differently. And in order for us to find out what that looks like, we have to let our minds be free to figure out what those what that looks like. There's a myth going on right now about the climate of online organizing. One of those myths is that humans have a short attention span. I want to let you all know that that's not true. It is not that people have a short attention span. That's not true. What is true is that human beings actually are now evolving, and we are more selective about our attention. That means that if you are scrolling through Facebook to look at all your posts, you don't have a short attention span, which is why you're scrolling. You're scrolling because you want to look for something that grabs your attention, because you realize your time, your energy, your focus, and what you choose to pour into your spirit has to be selective. So if we know more about our audience and we know more about people's attention spans, you're going to show up differently online. I know that I can't hold you all's attention longer than this time that we have together, so I'm going to move on. But if you know and you're able to practice that, you can better than adjust how you're going to now show up differently online, because you know how people's attention spans work. There's a really awesome report that I'm citing at the bottom right here. It's called Prezi's 2018 State of Attention. I really encourage you all to write that down. If you don't get the slides afterwards, that report is not a long document. It is actually just a slide deck. If you Google it, and it'll give you a couple of really awesome tips about new findings that people have when it comes to online digital organizing and paying attention to your training online. Back to you, Jess. Oh, you're on mute, love. I can see you, but you're on mute. There you go.
So just to Tiffany's point, us unearthing some of the myths around attention span, which means we have to be very, very clear about who is our audience. And so there's been a number of studies that have shown paying attention, looking at who, so we know that we are the youth and college division. Our main focus is those who are under 25 and younger. So a lot of them fall in the millennials and Gen Z population. But we know that we are an intergenerational organization, which means our audience isn't limited to just millennials and Gen Z. And so the more we understand our audience, the better we can tailor our content and our style of meetings to that particular audience. So more millennials than Gen Z or boomers say engaging content can hold their attention for longer periods of time without distraction. So actually 40% of millennials said engaging in this kind of content can hold their attention span. 35% of Gen X and 31% of baby boomers. That when you have engaging content that is for that particular age group and population, their attention span, they're more likely to be more engaged in that training, in that webinar, in that meeting. So when you consider who is your audience, be mindful of what is the content that you are sharing. Is it content that is relevant to that particular population? Next slide. So a lot of research, we have seen a lot of research come out of figuring out how do we pivot and how do we organize and cater to the populations that we want to work for, right? So 95% of business professionals say they multitask during meetings, which a lot of times there's also been a lot of studies that show that multitasking isn't really a thing. That more than likely when your attention is on several different things, you're gonna miss something. And so around 1 in 3 of these multitaskers lose track of or have trouble retaining the information that was being discussed, which is why it's that much more important to be able to create content that is engaging to a particular audience. Because if you're not keeping them engaged, then more than likely their attention span is not going to their attention span is going to be redirected to something else that's a lot more engaging than what you have for them. And it may be really useful. And then secondly, 1 in 5 admits multitasking in meetings have caused them to make an error in their work, because multitasking is not as simple as most people would assume that it is. That more often than not, if your attention is being split, there's something that you're paying more attention to than otherwise. And so that means it's easier for them to, if you're giving, like right now, some of you all are at home, some of you may be just listening in, some of you may be looking at Netflix, some of you may be driving, which means that your attention isn't really focusing on this training. But the way in which we engage with you all, the tone of our voice, the pictures that we have on the slides, all of that is engaging content. And that'll redirect whether or not someone is as engaged in your presentation as you would like them to be, essentially. Next slide, Tiff. So these are not an exhausted list of principles, but these are some principles to keep in mind in organizing online communication. 1, be clear. So if you're speaking, be very clear and concise about what you're sharing. Just as we did at the very beginning, we shared what you all was going to get out of this training, so you knew what to expect. But be very clear at the beginning what to expect, and then all throughout the rest of your training, be clear on what points you were making. 2nd, be consistent. Consistency is key. If we told you that we're gonna go through the principles of online communication, then we should be consistent with that. You shouldn't be seeing some other content outside of what we shared with you all. 3, keep it simple. A lot of times we want to do too much and we can lose our audience. So the simpler it is, the more likely that it's going to reach the people that you want, and the message is going to be clear. 4th, all communication have a tone and a mood. So just as Tiffany got on, you heard excitement, you heard energy. If we got on this webinar, we like, hey y'all, yeah, I'm glad y'all on. I hope y'all having a good evening. Half of y'all will probably end this webinar right now, and half of y'all would definitely not be engaged. And so all of your communication, you have to be mindful of your tone and your mood, because you have other people that is also feeding off of your energy when you're communicating with them. 5th, your communication should be non-divisive. So we're not here to talk about divisiveness. We're just gonna say right now, this time more than anything requires unity. So we want to have a unified conversation. 6, do what gets you the largest and widest reach. So outreach is extremely important. And so especially right now, we're seeing a lot of folks are looking at alternative ways to reach audiences. Zoom has been everyone's best friend. So a lot of people are very familiar with Zoom right now, but do what it takes to get your largest and widest reach, whether that means promoting on social media, whether that means promoting via email. We still have word of mouth communication, whether that means calling people one-on-one, sending text messages, finding ways to reach your audience. 7, create information for different learning styles. And so most people will say, oh, I'm visual. Like 70 or 80% of us are visual. But sometimes some people need some other ways to walk through communicating. So making sure we have graphics. Some people need to see movement to stay engaged. So think about that, and think about the variety of different learning styles that people have to ensure that they are able to take and retain the information that you're providing. 8, don't communicate, engage, and then share, respond, and retweet. So these are some of the ways where you have to make sure that you're engaging. You can find other ways to engage and then follow up. So share, respond, and retweet. And remember, certain conversations aren't worth your time because it's not who you are online. And so in cases, be above the exchange. So remember why certain communications is happening. So we're having this webinar, this digital organizing training for a particular reason. So we're communicating a particular message. And so be very mindful that the communication that you're having, is it worth your time? Is it worth organizing over 100 people on a webinar to talk about something that's not really important or relevant for this time? Right now, this time is demanding for us to be very clear on how do we organize digitally. And so that's the reason why we're having it. Next slide. So these are also some rules of a great online meeting. So a lot of people have been asking, how do I organize an online webinar? How do I conduct an online meeting? Because we're really accustomed to face-to-face. And so there are some do's and don'ts that kind of differ from in-person meetings. Do's: make the reason for the gathering clear and upfront. Just for example of what we just did, we made it clear on what you all are going to learn from this training this evening. 2, have a clear start and end time and honor it. So we appreciated everyone who was able to join early, and we got started around 8:30, just as we said that we were. So honor that. Honor people's time. Do not waste people's time. We're not about to be here all night. You all came here for a particular reason, and we want to make sure that we honor the time that you all have with us. 3rd, present the speakers and where they are. So Tiff and I, we both introduced ourselves. We also shared that we currently both are socially distancing ourselves in Washington, D.C. And know that we're a national organization. So speakers are from all over right about now. And so just for a level of connection, you all know where we physically are at this moment. Share the responsibility of leading. Just as me and Tiff are also doing this, we're co-facilitating this training tonight. So share the responsibility of leading. Create multiple channels for engagement. So as you all will see, some folks are writing messages in the chat. That's a form of engagement. We are talking to you all, but at the end, we'll also have questions, opportunities for you all to ask live questions, another way in which you all can engage. And then also, obviously, there's video. So some of us can see you all's faces, can see your beautiful faces. So that's another level of engagement. So be mindful of the multiple channels of engagement you may have. Lastly, for do's, follow through with the follow through. So if we said that we're going to we have particular goals for this training, we want to make sure that we reach them. So we're going to follow through with that. Lastly, the don'ts. Don't have a long check-in or opening. As you saw, we got started really quickly. Like we said, we want to honor your time. So the check-in wasn't necessarily, we didn't need to be long. 3rd, have a meeting for longer than an hour. Right now, this webinar will be about an hour or so you all can be mindful of that as well. And then lastly, ignore the folks that you can't see. That's pretty plain, self-explanatory.
Just don't ignore the folks that you can't see.
Oh, don't ignore. That's an error. Don't ignore the folks that you can't see. So there's some folks on this call that we can't see. There's some folks who called in. And so really mindful of that. Also mindful of the fact that some of you can't actually see the presentation right now. And that's the reason why I'm walking through it, so that you can hear my voice if you can't visually see the presentation. So even if you're not able to get online, know that we are not ignoring you, and we're really mindful of the fact that you may not be visually seeing this presentation. Next slide.
Awesome. There's like a weird pointer situation happening right there. I don't know what that is. Okay. Thank you, Jazz. So there's 2 buckets. So there's the principles of online communication. That's any communication. That's communication in Zoom. That's communication in an email. That's communication if you're sending out mass communication to your members. But there's 2 forms of the principles. The first was communication. Now we want to pivot to principles of online organizing, right? Sometimes when you're communicating, you're not organizing, you're just telling people stuff. So we were sending out a bunch of videos today because today is April 1st, which is also Census Day, National Census Day. The videos were encouraging young people to vote. To fill out their census. They were asking folks to share this fact that they completed their census. So now we want to pivot to online organizing, which is when we ask somebody to take action and do something. The first thing we want you all to remember when the principles of online organizing is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It is not a good practice to just wake up in the morning and say, you know what? I think I'm gonna send an email today. Or, you know what? I think I should post something on social media today. You want to think about those things in advance. So we knew we were going to post and share the advertisement for this training so that people can register last week. We knew we were going to send an email about it again to remind people today. We planned those things in advance so that we could get as many people as possible. And actually right now we have 125 people on the call. So I would say we were pretty successful because we've made a plan. Number 2, research everything. Don't just share and post and retweet and copy and repeat what people tell you. We know now more than ever that our communities are being lied to. So when we share information, we have to always double check. It takes 3.7 seconds to type it in on Google and research what comes out about the situation, right? It takes 7 seconds to find out if you have a question about something that the news is saying, to fact check it. So make sure you always do your research. Number 3, we want to database the people who are taking action. So if you are sending out a mass email, if you're using Instagram or Facebook, and there is somebody who is always the first person to respond, always the first person to like it, always the first person to share what you posted, you want to keep track of that person, because that person is a part of your network now to help you expand the reach of your message. So if somebody is always taking action, you also want to appreciate them and say, hey, thank you, right? Sometimes Youth and College Division, we will share videos in our DMs to all of the chapter accounts on Instagram. And when you all reshare or post them, we tell you in the chat, thank you for sharing that and reposting it, because we can build a relationship with people online. Number 4, have a clear theory of change. Now, I want to take 2 seconds to explain what a theory of change is, because for some people, that's a new concept. When we say have a clear theory of change, it is an equation. The equation goes like this. If you do this, then this will happen. I'll say it again. If you do this, then this will happen. That is the equation to a theory of change. So if you all sign the petition, then maybe Congress will forgive all student loan debt. We might have to take more actions than that, but that is the theory of change. If you show up to tonight's training, you will walk away with what we talked about in the outcomes, the principles of communication, the principles of online organizing, and 2 examples of how to do it. We want to always remember, now that we're home and people are separated and people have to engage online, we want to make it very clear what we're asking people to do and what they will get from it. Don't just have a meeting just to have a meeting. Don't just send an email just to send an email. Make sure that you think through what your theory of change is. Number 5, make it easy for your message to share. I can't emphasize this enough. If you just post a picture of the American flag on your Facebook page or on your Instagram page, but the comment section, like the caption of the picture, is where you have all the information, if I'm engaging with you on social media, all I can do is share the picture, because I can't copy and paste your comment that you made. So make sure that whatever picture you have has all the information that we need, so that if somebody wants to or tries to share it, the information that is necessary for people to know goes along with the picture. Does that make sense? I'm looking at people's face. Okay, good. You're nodding. Yes, you hear me. Good. Make sure that you have the content in the photo or in the graphic. Don't just put it in the comment, right? Because then if we share it, it makes it easier to share. Number 6, the ask should be personal and appealing. Make sure that when you are making an ask of someone, that you're not saying, you all, the unit, because the unit is not a person. You can make this personal. You can say, hey, I want you to join the meeting tomorrow. Hey, you probably want to know what's going to happen with your state primary because it was moved. You should sign on to the call. You can use you can use us, you can use we, but you shouldn't refer to people as robots, because we're still human beings. Even though we're not together in person, you can still make it personal. Then make it appealing. What's going to make you join tonight's call? I know for a fact that the only people tonight on today's training are the people who wanted to know how to do digital organizing. That's what made it appealing to you. So I don't have to wishy-washy pretend like the training is about something else to try to keep you engaged, because you came on your own accord because you wanted to learn about this, because the topic was appealing to you. So make sure that whatever it is that you're going to do online, that you think about what words you're using so that your message, like Jaslyn said, is clear and is concise, so that it's appealing to people to join. And then last but not least, you want to always report back, whether you win, lose, or draw. That's different from the follow-up that Jaslyn mentioned. When we follow up in communications, it means that if we say we're going to send an email afterwards, or people are going to get the slides afterwards, that we actually follow through with the action. In this case, when we're doing organizing, we want to make sure we report back. So if I ask 1 million people to sign a petition and then I get their signature, when it's over, I have to still come back to social media and tell them what happened. If you fundraise money because you need to sponsor a student because they can't afford a computer, or they're trying to get to college, or they need to fly home because they're stuck on campus, or we're trying to fundraise money so they can come to the convention, don't just take people's money and then not report back online and tell them, hey, we met our fundraising goal. Thank you so much for all your help. Hey, we were able to sponsor that one student to go to convention. Thank you for donating. Hey, we were able to feed 500 students who couldn't afford to eat lunch today. Thank you for your support. You want to make sure that you always report back and tell them what happened, even if it's good news or bad news. The rules for this content, next slide, it says, we want you to make it personal. So use you. We want you to keep it short. We want you to stay focused and be unique. We want you to keep the message focused. That means in your email is probably not a good email if you're asking people to take action. Again, we're talking about organizing now. If you're just giving people information and it's just communication, like Jaslyn said, this doesn't apply to that. But if you are asking people to take action, do not ask people to take 7 different actions in one email, because the likelihood of them taking the first action and coming back to your email is not probable, because we remember that people have a selective attention span. So they're not going to come back to your email to respond to all 7 links. If you're like, hey, welcome to this email, I want you to take this action and sign the petition. Number 2, donate $10. Number 3, can you also sign this pledge card? Number 4, can you watch this 20-minute YouTube video? Number 5, that's too long and too many asks in one email. And if I were to see an email like that, that message to me is, none of this stuff is urgent because you got too many things you need me to do. It couldn't possibly fix anything in the world, so I'm not going to do all the asks. So make sure that it's focused. Number 5, this is the most important one I'm probably going to say tonight, because this is the one I see the most. Please proofread all your stuff. Please, pretty please, proofread everything. Make sure you spell the stuff right. Make sure that there's not unnecessary capital letters. Make sure that the font looks the same on all the documents. Make sure that you have the right font size, and that it's not 17 font, 35 font, 14 font, 12 font. Please just proofread your stuff. We want to make sure that we don't send out things that are going viral on social media, or that are going out in mass emails to over 2,000 people and something is spelled wrong. That's a little embarrassing, but it just means that you didn't take your time and pay attention. So please make sure you proofread. We also want to make sure, number 6, that you choose your content. You can choose your content either in long form, you can make it interactive, you can make a video, you can do a presentation, you can do an audio, you can do a blog post, you can make a graphic. There are different types of forms of content that you can use. A long form content is something that might be like a survey. An interactive might be, hey, we're not going to have a slide. We might just do a Zoom call and everybody can see everybody's face. We might just push out a video. We might just do a presentation like this, where we're able to show you all what we mean and use audio so you can hear our voice as we narrate the presentation. You might just do a blog post where you just write about it and send it out to people so folks can read it. Or you might just do a graphic that you can share on social media. We have so many options now that we can pick and choose from. You don't have to just use one. So now we're going to go into some case studies. I see there's a question in the chat and it says, is it okay to list different possible actions for someone to take instead of demanding that they do multiple things? Is it okay to list different possible actions? So let me give you an example. The answer is yes, if all of those different actions are for one ask. So watch this. If I send out an email and I ask in the email for people to take action on student loan debt, to forgive student loan debt, I can list multiple actions to forgive student loan debt. Hey, I want you to tweet your Congress member. I want you to sign this petition, and I want you to post a picture of you and the sign of how much debt you have. Those are multiple asks, multiple actions that people can take, but it's for one cause. What bad practice is and what you shouldn't do is say, hey, I want you to take action on student debt, sign the petition, but I also want you to fill out the census, and you should do that by going to 2020census.gov. Number 3, I want you to donate to my child's graduation funds because we need more money for them to graduate. Number 4, I want you to, it's too many asks for too many different causes. If you're going to do that, again, make a schedule and say, we're going to send out different asks on different days. But in one email, you shouldn't send out, it's not good practice to send out more than one ask for different reasons. Perfect. It makes sense. Beautiful question. What's up, DeAngelique? Good to see you, or good to have you on the call. The question is, how many emails are too many emails, given that a lot of us are getting an overwhelmingly amount of emails? Is there a way to make emails stand out? Great question. So this brings up a really good point, DeAngelique, which I want everybody to pay attention to, which is we're all at home. So now we're making it easier for you all to understand how to do digital organizing. It doesn't make the competition less because now everybody is trying to get online. Everybody. The Instagram broke last week because DJ D-Nice was DJing. Cardi B was doing a rant about Donald Trump. And then you had Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez who was talking about Congress and the stimulus package and how corporations are taking big money. And so many people were plugged into those 3 videos alone that it broke Instagram. Instagram shut down. In that same way, we're probably going to start getting a whole bunch of emails over the next few weeks because that's kind of what all people have to go to and what they know how to use. But not y'all, because I'm training y'all how to use more tools in your toolbox. But most people only know how to use emails. To answer your question, DeAngelique, there is a way to overwhelm people with emails, and then there's a way to make it stand out so that it's not overwhelming. If your emails are short and consistent meaning you're sending them out to remind people on a good basis. You're not sending one email in March, one email in April, and then just leaving it alone, right? You're not just sending out, because that's not going to feel like it's urgent. You're not just sending out an email once a month saying, hey, register for convention. That there are multiple ways to communicate with people, not just via email, but on Instagram and Facebook and GroupMe, and you're able to make personal phone calls. You can get on Zoom webinars and Zoom calls. You can also tweet about it. You can also still send snail mail if that's your choice. There are different ways that we can be consistent about it. You don't have to use emails every single time. The only way that you can find out if emails are getting too much is if somebody responds to you and says, hey, stop sending me so many emails, or you start to notice people start to unsubscribe from your list. So you have to monitor and watch what is happening with your audience, right? We're making this personal. So you're not emailing and communicating with robots. We want you all to make sure that you are keeping track of your audience. If your Facebook post is a video and you get 300 views and 150 likes, that's a good thing. If you then post another video that afternoon and you don't get as many likes or as many views, one of 2 things happened. Either you realize, you know what? People don't really get online on my platform in the evening. I need to always send them out in the morning. Or people don't like that you sending all these posters and all these videos and they're not going to like them anymore because they don't care. And if that's the case, you have to pivot. What's a different platform? What's a different way that you can explain your campaign or your question or your target or your ask or your action? So I see a lot more questions that are here. I'm going to keep going because it's 9:12, and I'm going to come back to some of these questions so that we can at least make it through the rest of our PowerPoint presentation. So don't worry. And we can save the chat as well. And so if you have a question that doesn't get answered tonight, just put your email and we'll make sure to respond. The first case study as an example that I want to share with you all is the digital organizing framework. So this looks like a lot of words, but it's really simple. And I want to make sure you understand it because you can use this for everything. It's a framework. Frameworks are meant to be used, and we can plug things into the framework for whatever need that you have. This is the framework. The blank spaces are things that we're going to fill in. So because blank. The blank is your problem or your statement. So I'm going to use an example in a second, but I want to walk you all through the framework. I am activating. Who are you activating? Who is the audience? Then to join the fight with or for, and you want to name an example. You want to give a story. You want to tell a case study of a person who will benefit from your organizing. I don't know who's drawing lines, but I need my technician to help me with that. You want to be able to tell a story. To pursue. What is the ultimate purpose of your organizing? If you don't have an ultimate purpose, then you're not able to figure out what ask you need to make of people to take action. Then you want to have your theory of change. Again, theory of change is, if I do this, then this will happen. Then you want to achieve something. Name what that something is. This will remind you and ground you in what is it that we're actually trying to get or fight for. That should be your ultimate goal. Here's something that's also really important that folks don't pay attention to. You need to have an end date. Campaigns don't run for 50 years. They might, but if I know something's going to take 50 years, it's not going to feel urgent to me. And I'm not going to want to take action on it right now because it doesn't feel urgent. So you want to make sure that you're clear. What's my timeline for my organizing? What's my timeline for my program? What's my timeline for my campaign? And then lastly, you want to find out and identify what are your tactics. A lot of times organizers jump to tactics first. That's not what we're asking you to do in this framework. We want you to answer and fill in the blanks for all the necessary questions that are there. And then once you are clear on what you need to do, why you need to do it, who you need to do it for, when the timeline is, then you say, okay, cool, what can we get people to do? So now that you have a rough understanding of the framework, here's the first case study. It's going to be around student debt relief because that's one of my favorite topics. I'm trying to get Congress right now to relieve all my student debt and everybody else's because debt is annoying. Okay, great. So now I'm going to plug in the issue of student debt into that framework that I just walked you all through. Watch this. Because student debt has exceeded all other amounts of debt at $1.56 trillion, that's the problem. I am activating current and future borrowers, people who are potentially going to take out student loans. That is my audience. To join the fight with or for economic justice and wage equality. That is the people and the story that we want to tell around why we are asking Congress to relieve all student loan debt. To give graduates a debt-free future. That's the purpose. By mobilizing the most of people to advocate, don't even know why it says it like that, sorry. Yes, you can get a copy of this presentation, of course you can. By mobilizing the most of people to advocate Oh, the most amount. Sorry, you guys. By mobilizing the most, see it? Proofread. By mobilizing the most amount of people to advocate for their elected officials so that they can pass legislation to relieve all student loan debt. That is the theory of change. Again, if we mobilize the most amount of people to advocate for their elected officials, then they can pass legislation to relieve all student loan debt. That's the clear theory of change. To achieve debt forgiveness, that is the goal. Nobody should be in debt because they went to school. The date and time, we made it up. Maybe we can get this by November 2020 because that is the heightened moment of the presidential election. And candidates are going to want the youth vote. They're going to want the vote of people who are educated. They're going to want the vote of people who want to go to college. And if one of their platform ideas is we want to relieve student loan debt, or at least do our best to do the most of the relief, then people will gravitate towards that candidate. Phone banks, congressional office letters, letter writing, Twitter campaigns, those are our tactics at this moment because we're in the House. So now I get to figure out what are my tactics because I can't do anything in person. I can't rally at the Capitol steps, can't go out and have a protest. I can't get out and ask people to sign my petition at the bus stop. So because we're in the House, I got to figure out what are the other things we can do online digitally. And those are some of those ideas for tactics. I want to show you all something. Here's an example online of the NAACP partnering with the Student Debt Crisis Coalition. This website is real. I'll send you all the link along with the presentation. Remember, follow through. So now you know I have a promise to give to you. I got to give you a PowerPoint presentation and a link. The link, if you open it up, allows people to submit their first name, their last name, their email, their state, city, and zip code. When you give people, when you enter your address, it tells on the back end, the website, which elected official your letter needs to go to. We cannot figure out who your elected official is until you tell us where you live, because it's based off of regional representation. Once you click start writing, that green button at the bottom, it brings you to an automatically pre-written letter. And you can edit the letter, put your own story in it, push send, and it automatically goes to your elected official. This is an online tool. It makes it super easy and super accessible, so much so that over 147,000 letters have already been sent to today. This screenshot was from today. Over 147,000 people sent the letter because it's easy. We're all at home. It's online. You got to click 2 buttons and you're done. We got to make it easy, accessible, and clear. Notice the picture of the graphic. It says, cancel student debt to stimulate the economy. It's clear. You know, when you write your letter, this is what the purpose of this page is, and that's the purpose of the action that you're taking. If you write the letter, theory of change, then we can cancel student loan debt to stimulate the economy. Since that letter has been authored, March 23rd, which was last week, 2 congresswomen, Black, have introduced legislation. I just had to say they're Black because it gives me great pride. They already introduced legislation to forgive student loan debt during COVID-19 up to $30,000. I don't know how many of y'all got student loan debt. I don't even know how much most of y'all have if you do have it. What I do know is I don't care what tax bracket you're in. I don't care what part of the country you live in. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care what type of school you went to. If you had $30,000 worth of student loan debt, or if you currently have it, and these 2 congresswomen are saying that during COVID-19 pandemic, they want Congress to forgive up to $30,000 worth of it, I know that's going to move you to take action. It's worth your time to write the letter. Of course you want to forgive $30,000. Don't nobody want to pay back $30,000? Forgive it. Sign the petition. Write the letter. You'll take the action. So that is the first example of, again, issue organizing. And the issue that we chose to talk about tonight as the example was student debt relief. The second case study is campaign organizing, and that's through voter registration. Good question. Somebody's Boost iPhone. The question was, how do we know the site is legit? A lot of sites have great content, but there are so many scams out there to get your social or your information. That is a great question. Let me show you how. On this site right here, on this web page, it tells you who the page is run by. Right here, sponsored by Student Debt Crisis. If you can't do it now because it's a screenshot, but if you click on that name, it brings you to the organization's website. On the organization's website, it shows, for this particular site, it shows all the partners that they're working with. You're going to see the Youth in College NAACP logo on there. And if you're wondering, well, I don't even know if that's real because people can steal the logo off of Google. All you got to do is hit up me, Jaslyn, Derek, Wisdom, Russell, and ask us, hey, is this site, is this campaign legit? Our logo is on it. We don't know if it's real. And we can verify for you whether or not it is or whether or not it isn't. But usually whenever you go to a site like this, whether it's fundraising, sign a petition, write a letter, whatever the site is, scroll all the way to the bottom and it's going to tell you who the host of the site is. And then you can go ahead and click on that logo or on that website and look them up for yourself to see if they're real. Campaign organizing voter registration. Here's the example. Because Donald Trump was elected president, that's the problem. And we know that's a problem because the NAACP at their national convention last year passed a resolution to fight for his impeachment. So we know that he's a problem. Otherwise, the NAACP wouldn't have voted to impeach him. I am activating frequent Black voters ages 18 to 35. That is the audience. To join the fight with or for formerly incarcerated Black voters. That's the people's story. That's who we're fighting for. To pursue Black political power at the polls. That's the purpose. Why are we getting people to turn out? To build Black political power. By registering new and infrequent Black voters, ages 18 to 35 across the country, by 5%. That's our theory of change. If we can register 5% of Black voters between those ages, we can build Black political power. That is the theory of change. To achieve a critical mass of Black voter turnout in the 2020 elections. Strategic goal. We're trying to get the most amount of Black folks to turn out. That is a strategic goal. By National Voter Registration Day. That is a real day, you all. Every year, September 22nd, every year is National Voter Registration Day. Our goal is to increase voter turnout, voter registration by 5%, by September 22nd, because that's National Voter Registration Day. Lastly, we went through the tactics. We didn't do tactics first. We answered our questions for our framework first. Lastly, tactics, we're going to use everything. Social media, digital peer-to-peer engagement, digital convenings, and relational organizing. Again, we're physically distant. We're not socially distant. Those are all of our tactics. So these are a breakdown of each one of those. For the sake of time, because there's a lot of questions, I'm going to get to those. But we use some examples here. Some examples here are things that our youth are currently doing in the field. One of the things that folks are doing right now, I hope it doesn't do the sound.
Guys, I hope that you're staying healthy and staying safe in the middle of all of this COVID-19 chaos that's happening. I know that none of us signed up to be in this position, but something that you can sign up for is registering to vote in the Pennsylvania primaries on April 28th. The online registration link is in our bio, and it's a very, very straightforward and simple process. Even if you're not currently on campus, which is the case for most of us, and even if you're not in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania, you can still register to vote absentee using this link. A few important dates to remember are that the deadline to register to vote is April 13th, which is 2 weeks before the Pennsylvania primaries. Additionally, if you plan on voting absentee, you need to sign up to do so before April 21st, which is one.
So that was a video by one of our students that she posted to social media. It's just that simple. And videos, which are also a really great way to get your message across, when you share them, the entire point of the message goes with the video, no matter where the video is posted. we know that this weekend, or excuse me, on Friday the 13th, so it's not the weekend, but Friday the 13th, this Friday, some of our students, or next Friday, excuse me, some of our students are hosting a Netflix movie party. So online, because we can't meet in person, they're going to play a Netflix movie, and then in a virtual theater, they're going to be able to share and chat with each other and watch the same film together and have discussions and conversations about it. People are getting really creative because we have to be at home, but it doesn't mean we can't find new ways to do the things that we love to do. It is a great idea. I think it was awesome. I was like, please send me the flyer. Here's the flyer. It's really dope. Here are some of the graphics. So you see on the left-hand side here at the top where it says moved elections due to COVID-19. Georgia and Louisiana have moved their dates. So Rock the Vote made a really cute flyer that's really clear, very colorful, very specific. If I'm living in Georgia or Louisiana and I see this flyer, it's going to grab my attention. I'm going to say, what about my state? What you saying? What you talking about? And I'm going to read it. And now I'm like, oh, my date has been moved to May 19th. Good to know. June 20th. Good to know. I'm voting from home. Here, folks who are doing absentee ballot or folks who have already registered for the census, etc., they're finding ways to post online and social media to let people know that they did take action. It's great if you fill out the census. It's better if you tell everybody else you did it because you're an influencer and people who see your stuff are going to now feel moved and convicted to take the same action. Jazz, I'll pass this one to you to make it fun online.
Got it. So those are some really, really great examples of how folks are also making sure that digital organizing is fun. Obviously, if it's not a fun event, a lot of people are not going to be really drawn to go and attend and participate. So all of the youth leaders that are on the call, think about it this way. What would you like to do? What events is drawing your attention? What is it, the Netflix party? If it's the DJ D-Nice throwing a party online, like what is it that's pulling you and drawing you online? Because right now there's a million different things that are being offered online. Everybody is pivoting to online organizing, to online campaigning, to online programming. So this is also an opportunity for you all to put yourselves in the organizer's shoes by thinking about what would you like? What do you like to do that's fun online? And so this will also help to ensure that you are reaching the folks that you want to reach and that is engaging. And you're very mindful of your audience. So here's some ways that you can think about making online fun. First and foremost, right now more than ever, what we're not seeing and that we're oversaturated with is fear, is hopelessness, is sadness, and understandably so. It's a lot of stuff that is happening right now that a lot of us don't have the emotional bandwidth to carry and that we were not prepared for it. None of us was prepared for this moment right now. None of us would have thought that we would have came into April sitting at home all day, every day, right? And so right now what folks are really needing, not even just looking for, but what we all need right now is content that feels hopeful. So we know that we're shifting the movement, but this movement still needs to be a hopeful movement. So being very mindful of that. Are we still uplifting each other? Are we still pouring into each other? Are we still loving on each other despite the physical distance that we are experiencing right now? Some of the other ways we can make it really fun, invite performers. So sometimes just as you organize a physical event on your campus and you'll have a dancer, you'll have a speaker, you'll have a poet, get really creative. This is an opportunity for all of us to get really, really creative. This is the time that we don't even realize that we were prepared for more than what we think. Mm-hmm. That we already have the tools, we already have the creative intellect, we already have the ability to rise up to this time in the way in which it's demanding of us. So think about the programs that you all have done. What are the things that y'all have done on campus that you really enjoy? So performers, maybe get a spoken word artist to come and open up your webinar. Folks can feel that. Folks are still longing for something to feel. Play gifts. As you saw throughout this presentation, there was a number of gifts You can play videos. You can show movies, have pictures. People are looking for something to see that they can connect with. You all can offer that in your online digital organizing platforms in whatever means you use. Next, give people safe care ideas. So just as we started this off with a breathing activity, a lot of us don't realize that we're really not intentionally breathing right now. We're just moving. Even when we have the time right now more than ever to just pause. So take moments out to breathe. If you do meditation, if you do yoga, if you've been saying you need to work out, give some folks some other creative ideas of how to safely take care of themselves even while they're at home. Next, engage with people, video, chat, etc. Like we said, find multiple ways in which you can engage through video, through chat. I know some of y'all are asking questions through the chat. Some of y'all, we can see your faces. That's all forms of engagement. So offer those kind of opportunities. You all hear our voices, all of that. Play music as people are joining and leaving. So we didn't start this webinar off with music, but that was an idea that we had thought of. Is like playing music. While people are waiting and people are trickling into the meeting, play music. This gives people a greater sense of hope, of joy, of movement, of rhythm. We know that we are deeply connected to music, to beats, to rhythm, and sometimes that's at a tone of openness. So think about that. Just as y'all start your events with music, you can also start online platforms that way. Use easy icebreakers. Some of you all were repping where y'all were from. I saw Fresno. I saw Connecticut. I saw a few others. I saw Region 7 out here. So there was a lot of folks repping their regions and repping their states and repping their youth and college divisions and state conferences. So do easy icebreakers like that to get folks engaged. And then share something creative they have learned. That's something that you can ask a few participants as a way of engaging. Ask them what are some of the creative things that they've learned that they've done during this moment of physical distancing. People are getting really, really creative during this time. And it can be an opportunity for other people to get inspired by that, right? So make it fun. Lastly, we're gonna open this space up. Thank you all for joining and listening in to this webinar. But now this is an opportunity for you all to ask some more questions and that we can answer. So next slide. Thank you. So there's two ways that you can ask questions. You all can unmute yourself. Be mindful that there's multiple people. I actually think we have 124 participants still on this webinar. So there'll be multiple people that may want to ask questions. We've done this before where folks have been able to ask questions directly by unmuting themselves or just asking questions directly in the chat. And I can say the questions out loud and then we'll answer them. So just know that you all will have both of those options. This webinar is over around 10 o'clock. So just be mindful of that. I want to be respectful and honor you all's time as well.
And Jazz, I just want to do two more personal shout outs because I love them. I want to shout out Mississippi in the building, and I want to shout out New Orleans in the building too because my family's in New Orleans.
In the house.
There was a question earlier that someone asked about not receiving communication from the national office until it's too late, or sometimes it goes to the youth and not to the adults, or sometimes to the adults and not to the youth. To clarify that, so one of the ways, matter of fact, I'm gonna just show it to y'all. Let me see. There is a way to sign up for the youth and college information. What I will say is if you don't have an Instagram and you're trying to keep up with youth and college, it's kind of going to be a little difficult because we just post everything to social media anyway. But if you would like to receive our emails, this is our website. It's naacpyc.org. It's the Youth and College website. Again, naacpyc.org. You scroll down right here where it says sign up. Click on the sign up button. You give us your email, your region, your phone number, your state, your zip code, if you're in school, and what your affiliation is with the NAACP, and click subscribe. Once you do that, we have your email and all of the communications that we send out to all of our members, which is a really big list right now, and it's growing. We just got some more stuff today. You'll receive all the youth and college updates as well. But again, mostly you can find all of our stuff on Instagram. And that's what I think some of the disconnect is. You also received the national email about all the trainings for today. You'll continue to get those emails because there are multiple trainings that are happening between now and the end of April that are not just youth and college. So make sure that you're checking your emails and flagging them and that they're not going to your spam in your email account. Somebody said, have you guys thought about maybe displaying performers on your social media platforms, like a performer day in the week? Yes, because we've been seeing other people do it and it works really well. So we haven't done it yet. We have had live discussions on our platforms. We have had people, shout out to Georgia in the house, we see you. We've had people join our conversations. We've had people present like different things, but like Jazelyn said, what if we had a poet, right, come and perform first and do a quick 2-3 minute poem? What if we had someone play the saxophone or a young person, do a monologue? All those things are really good ideas, and you won't know that they work or don't work until you try it. So I would encourage you all to try it. Oh, so Joshua from Alabama, shout out to Alabama, asked the question, what is the best way to increase your social media presence and reach? So we did give y'all some of those answers in our presentation today. Hopefully they stuck. There were things around making sure that you share your information or your flyer or your email with other people so that they can share it too, right? Like that's the biggest way to ensure that your message is going to get across and that more people can see your stuff. One of the really cool things that I did recently was I have a really, really amazing friend. His name is Kendrick Sampson. He's an actor on the movie Insecure, but more importantly, he's an activist and organizer with this organization called Build Power based out of Los Angeles. And I mean, I got a lot of followers, but Kendrick is a celebrity. So he has like 400,000 followers. And he was going live on his social media account, and he asked me to go live with him. I don't have 400,000 followers, but now that he was able to go live with me, a lot of the people who are his audience were able to watch the video conversation of me and him, and then they found me on social media, and I got 200 new followers in one day. I say that because it is super easy for you to share who your audiences are if you collaborate on social media. So YouTube will let you do it. I don't know if Facebook will because I'm on Facebook, but Instagram will and Twitter will. Once you start to retweet other people's stuff or you ask other people to share your things, their audiences will see it too, and that will grow your audience. Oh, so great question. Thank you, Phoebe, for joining tonight. I appreciate the feedback. I'm glad that the training was dope. Shout out to New York in the building. I tried to make sure that it's my mental thing. I tried to make sure that we didn't use the word college. We use the word school. Student debt, voter registration, Instagram, Facebook. Those are things that all youth councils, youth units, college chapters, everybody can use. So just know that tonight, we actually have a lot more adults on the call than I thought we would. Just know that tonight was not about any particular audience. Everything that we gave you all can be used for anybody. It can be used for folks who are adults. It can be used for folks who are in high school and in middle school. We actually had an intern not too long ago who's in, where is Inyale? And she's in high school? Middle school? High school. And Yale, who was our intern, who actually a while ago helped us with some of this content anyway. So it wasn't like old people made this presentation. Like this is for everybody. And it's about how you deliver it and when you break it down to your youth, that they'll be able to see better examples and they'll be able to understand it. So please make sure that you don't walk away from this training thinking this was just for college students. We're the Youth and College Division. This is for middle school, high school, and college, and obviously people who are no longer in school, because I'm looking at a y'all and y'all don't look like y'all in college. So I'm glad that this was really great. Thank you, Reverend Vine. I appreciate it. Thank you, Ohio. Florida's in the building. San Luis Obispo County. Shout out to California. Me and Jazz are both from California. Utah's in the building. New Jersey. Oh, now y'all having too much fun. What's up, Berkeley?
That's a question.
Go ahead, Jess.
From Terry Hughes. As a beginning youth organizer, what do you do when everyone is kind of disengaged in this time? Also, Region 1, Utah. Shout out to Utah.
I'm sorry, say the question one more time.
As a beginning youth organizer, what do you do when everyone is kind of disengaged in this time?
I think that's a really important question, especially because you said in this time. This time is harder for most people than it is for others. This time is unimaginable. This time is confusing. This time is depressing. This time sometimes for most people will feel lonely. And those are all real and okay emotions to have, considering we don't know how long we'll be in the house. Graduations have been canceled. Proms have been canceled. Homecomings have been canceled. Spring break has been canceled. Hell, my birthday is in 14 days and my birthday is canceled. It's okay for people to be mad, for people to be angry, for people to be anxious. This moment is completely normal. So if you're wondering why it's hard to move people to take action in this moment, give them a second. Happy birthday. I see you on Sunday. Shout out to all the Aries in the building. It's okay. People are going to have to adjust to this moment. And if you can't get people to take action, I would just encourage you to give them a second. It's not that people don't care. It's not that people aren't worried. It's not that people don't want to make change in their community. It's that this moment just might be a little bit harder for a lot of people than it is for folks who are used to being at home or are comfortable because they have a family to be with. A lot of our students, we heard, when they left, they have to go back to a place where they're by themselves. And that's not fun for anybody. We had a few students who are orphans who are over 18 years old, and the only place that they're able to live is actually on campus. And so now that they have been told that they can't stay at school, they have to go back somewhere that's not even a home for them. And they might they might not have a family to go back to. They might just have to stay at an office or at a orphanage, and that's not fun for anybody. We have folks who are sick and don't have health care, folks who have children who they're wondering if they have the coronavirus. Listen, this moment is difficult. So be easy on your people. That's why we're asking you all to make sure that if you're going to have a meeting, if you're going to communicate with people, and if you're going to ask people to take action, that you really make it worth their time, because that's what's going to get you the best results and the most turnout. Shout out to Texas. Texas is always in the building, always representing.
Great. Yes, there was a question whether or not this presentation will be forward to the audience for helping others in their unit.
You want to answer?
Sorry. If the presentation will be forward to the audience.
Yes. So everybody who was here on tonight's call, if you registered, there were 100. Jazz said I think at one point our highest was 125. That was amazing. Mm-hmm. If you registered, you're automatically going to get the email. If you didn't register and you just somehow snuck into this training, I hope you enjoyed yourself trying to hide. Just make sure that you put your email in the chat, and we'll add your email to that list to make sure you get the presentation and the link that I said I would send you all with the student debt campaign.
Awesome. Also want to be mindful that we have about 15 minutes left. I'm going to read through some more questions, and then we're going to just kind of make sure that we get as many folks' questions answered as possible. We got Jalen Cole. He said, they said, I know Zoom is great and works for calls like these, but free accounts can only have meetings that are 45 minutes and under. Are there any equally effective platforms that we can use by units so they don't have to pay for longer meetings?
Yes. First of all, I would just put a pin in this to say, I would encourage you all, we had a training tonight for 2 hours with 125 people. You all could ask questions. We had 2 examples of, like, this was a training. But if you're having a meeting and it's longer than 45 minutes or an hour, you probably should rethink your meeting. Nobody wants to be on a Zoom call for this for that long. We've actually had people drop off of this one. 20 people drop off of this one. Because again, people got other stuff to do. One of the other tools that you can use is Google Hangouts. So if your unit has a Google account, they're free. You can just make a Gmail. You're able to use Google Hangouts. And I've been told, I haven't used it personally because we have Zoom, but I've been told that there's no time limit on that. And you're able to do pretty much the same 2 features that we did here tonight. You can be on video and you can share your screen to show a PowerPoint. And that's free.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Tiff. I'm not seeing any additional questions. I'm seeing a whole lot of shout outs. Oklahoma City in the building.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Jazz. And somebody just put in there, good job, Staten Island, freeconferencecall.com. So freeconferencecall.com, Staten Island says, can do meetings, record, and do video. So try that too, freeconferencecall.com and Google Hangouts.
Beautiful. Are there any additional questions?
Hey, Nas. What's up, Kelly?
Hey, Kelly.
Kentucky in the building. Shout out to Tyler, our youngest state youth and college president. Shout out to South Carolina in the building. Oh, y'all are dope. Okay, we could be here all day doing shout outs, but if there's no more questions, we could let y'all go early.
When will we be able to access youth membership portal? Newark, Delaware.
Great question. Jazz, I actually don't remember the training dates for Salesforce, but the NAACP, so we're not sending, I know that this might be new news to you because you asked the question. So we're actually not sending you rosters and compliance rosters and et cetera. If you already took the NAACP membership portal training, then you will receive a login information and password to get into that portal. If you have not taken the training, that's why you don't have it yet. There are a few more trainings coming up. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the next one, yep, April 6th. Good job, Raven. Shout out to Raven in the building. I was about to say April 6th. I'm glad you said it before I typed it. So April 6th is the next training. You all can sign on to, you can sign up for the training to get it. We'll post the link and share it. Wiz, I know you're in the chat. If you wouldn't mind sharing that real quick. We're going to share the link to register for the training so that you can get your login. If you took the training and you didn't get your login, send us an email and we'll help you get that ASAP.
Awesome.
Hey, Utah. Aw, what's up, Utah? I miss y'all. Awesome. So there's a lot more questions that are pulling up. Happy Census Day. When will we discuss how to engage and educate on the primary elections? So we did tonight's training on basic practices and principles. We had 2 census webinars that happened. We had a census head webinar that happened last week and one for Black Census Week. We have a lot more trainings that are going to be coming up. There's going to be a lot more trainings around internal procedures that the NAACP is giving. And then there's special trainings for that. So look out for the webinar dates and the schedule so that you all can get that information. Perfect. Thank you, Wiz. I knew you'd be on it. Appreciate you. Shout out to Wisdom Cole, National Organizing Manager in California right now. So he just posted the membership portal training sign up. Go ahead, y'all, grab that link. If you have not yet registered for your membership portal training, that's the only way you can get access to your rosters and to your stuff. So make sure you take the training first and then they'll send you a login. And I think we can wrap up, Jazz.
Yeah, I think we have one more question, the last one. Texas has a lot of units without logins as a state conference president. Can I send all of those units info to you all? And do they need to send that info individually?
If you send us, they have to send it to us individually because we have to know who to send the login information to, but only if they took the training. So if they took the training, our folks, Wiz said the link is not working. If they took the training and we have them registered as taking the training and completing the training already, then they will send them the login information. So if you, either way that you do it, we'll have to cross list the people who took the training. We can't send it to the unit itself.
Got it.
Perfect.
That answered your question. Laysal said, cornbread ain't nothing wrong with that. Remember to smile and laugh, everyone. We will get through this. Yes, we will. And we will get through this together. One last question. I think we're going to wrap up. I was wondering what would happen to the National Convention. Great question. We've definitely gotten that question a few times. As of now, there hasn't been, we still have the date. It's still July 25th through the 29th. There hasn't been any final decisions made about convention as of yet. There are those who are the decision-making body of convention. They are convening. They are having conversations about convention and whether or not we will still have it in July 25th through the 29th. As of now, that is the case. Obviously, as COVID-19 kind of as we kind of just figure this thing out together, because we really do not know how this thing is going to unfold, know that convention is still moving forward. And as we get more information, if there is a decision made that says that we're no longer going to have convention, or it's going to change, or it's going to be postponed, or any of those decisions, we would definitely let you all know. As of now, we're still moving forward. That's the best information that we have as of right now.
Awesome.
So thank you all so very much. I thoroughly enjoyed being able to have the opportunity to interact with you all. I hope y'all were able to take away some useful tips and strategies, and it gave you the opportunity to kind of really think creatively about this moment and how you all can rise up in this moment and continue to do the incredible work that you all were doing in the field. Make sure that you all still remain connected to your members and your unit, that more so now than ever, there's a need for that, and that you all convene amongst leaders and come up with creative, fun ideas of how you all can still continue and move the work as we need to move it, and continue to carry out the mission of the association, right? So this moment does not mean that we are no longer activists. Yes, we are physically distancing ourselves, but we are still in this movement. That we are no longer, this does not mean that we are no longer leaders. We did not lose our leadership abilities. Know that you all have infinite creativity, infinite talent. Continue to connect with each other more now than ever before. We are the age that we grew into of the digital age. We grew up in the internet. So these aren't new tools. It's just that we have to figure out how do we make sure that we use it to work for our movement right now. So we are the ones that we're looking for. But as we continue to build this movement, please, 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 please make sure you all take care of yourselves. Please make sure you are loving on each other. We love you all. We care deeply about each and every one of you. Remember to stay connected. We have a few other trainings that are coming up, so we'll make sure we share that information as well. And I hope you all have a good night.